Hello everyone and welcome back to the Silicon Sounds YouTube channel, audio for the rest of us. Today we're going to talk about an IEM that I think has flown below the radar for much too long. It is the Reecho SG01, Stargate 01. Let's talk quickly about some specs. It comes in a very nicely finished, high quality, lightweight zinc alloy metal shell. It is a single DD utilizing a 10mm N50 graphene composite diaphragm. Impedance is 32 ohms, sensitivity is 110 dB, which means on paper at least it's very easy to drive. It comes with a 2-pin connector, as we'll see here. Standard 2-pin connector, very easy to find cables. Unfortunately, I didn't do an unboxing video of this for a cost of around $40 US. The presentation of this is incredible. The unboxing experience goes well beyond its asking price. And we'll just remove the tip. There we go. As we can see, this is the Reecho Stargate 01. If you look closely, we'll see the presence of a bass vent right there. If I can show you properly. Right here. Here it is. Couldn't see it myself. Sorry. Very well constructed, beautiful shell, 2-pin connector. And really, let's talk a little bit more about the Stargate 01. Houses a single graphene composite diaphragm driver, offering a moderate V-shaped presentation, very easy to drive, doesn't present a difficult load at all, and is easily driven by a variety of sources. It does benefit, though, from higher quality sources, because it is transparent enough that you can actually reap the benefits if you use a much better source. Although not necessarily power dependent, the quality of the source makes a big difference. Tip and cable rolling, it responds very well to, but not as dramatically as, say, the Moji Monica H2O, which is another IEM, but much more expensive than this one. I found that the SG01 out of the box sounded somewhat odd, but later as I started listening to it after about a 48-hour burn-in, I kind of understood where it was coming from, and the only reason it sounded odd was because of the other IEMs with more typical tuning that I had been listening to prior to that. In the end, the SG01 really opened up, became a thoroughly enjoyable and cohesive sonic experience. Retail presentation, top-notch, of course, and really sets the standard for many other earphones in this price range. In fact, in reviews, it's almost, I wish I never heard the Stargate 01. It makes it very difficult to review other IEMs, both in and above its price range. The sound quality is what really stands out, irrespective of what the bundle, which was very impressive, and let's get into that right now. First, I want to talk about build quality. Apparent quality is excellent, beautifully built IEM, and the same level of quality extends to its accessories. The earphones themselves have good weight to them and are as impressive in build as they are in sound. Right up there with what you can expect in other IEMs in this price range. For example, the HZ Sound Heart Mirror, which I have over there for comparison. The Senfor DT9, that kind of quality. It's got good weight to it, I guess, because of its zinc alloy shell. The included materials, the tips that are included are excellent. The cable is definitely not a throwaway. Everything about this screams a product that should be at a much higher price. So let's get into the sound quality. Let's talk about bass. After proper burn-in, bass quality is definitely more than sufficient with average speed and texture. Definition is good, but not necessarily class leading. We're going to talk about that in comparisons. Bass does go deep, but is more mid-bass oriented. Bass heads may complain about the lack of low bass rumble. It has low bass rumble, absolutely, but it's much more realistically presented other than in your face all the time. It's still present, but does fall a little bit behind the mid-bass level in terms of actual output. Bass on the SG01 is very enjoyable, serves as a really good foundation for all the genres I threw at it, without being an overwhelming presence that calls attention to itself all the time. In other words, it's quite balanced, And the balancing act is incredible, actually. Mid bass is punchy with good transient detail as well. Nothing in the low end of the spectrum stands out as top of its price bracket, but the balance is surprisingly good, and particularly when you take into account the rest of the frequency spectrum. For mids, the mid-range is where the SG01 really starts to come alive and shine. Slightly recessed with a clear and clean quality that makes both male and female voices sound very good, very natural, very expressive, organic as it were. There's a slight warmth, although bass bleed is minimal, combined with a nicely crisp upper mid-range and good definition results in a pleasurable listening experience all the time, and this irrespective of the genre that is being played through the SG01. Detail retrieval is definitely above average in the price range and even above, and no doubt aided by the crisp upper mids and standout treble. All of this without descending into any kind of harshness or rough or edgy sounding high-end treble or lower mids, or I should say upper mids. Layer separation is also definitely above average for the price, which gives an added sense of spaciousness to the sound heard through the SG01. Playing some complex tracks such as Stella by a guy called Gerald. Very complex track, a lot of things going on. Angel by Massive Attack. You can still discern each individual element clearly in its own space, which is a real big achievement for something that's $40. Mid-range texture is also readily apparent, making for a very engaging listen regardless of the genre. Very cohesive and pleasing experience with respect to the mids. Let's get to the treble. Now, treble, I think as good as the mids are, treble is the star of the show here. Well extended, clean, crisp, great air and sparkle, lots of nuances, but not overdone or over-embellished. Detail retrieval is definitely above average at this price range and even above. Cymbal strikes have a beautiful attack and decay with great speed and definition. Treble is definitely non-fatiguing, and the overall treble range is incredibly good at this price and even higher. Treble here really sounds beautiful when listening to smooth jazz, live recordings and whatnot. There's all that air and space around the instruments, which makes for a much more engaging listen and adds to the layering capabilities of the Stargate 01. Imaging and soundstage. Pleasingly wide soundstage with adequate depth and height, although I found there's more of the latter. Due to its ability to present layers well, though, the image is very well defined. The sound within that soundstage, instruments are easy to place, easy to know where they are. Hugh Masekela's Stimula, which is a fantastic live track, really sounded and brought you into the auditorium or club that it was playing in. Everything sounded, had a great place, and had air around it, which was very interesting for something at this price. Let's talk about Versus now. Versus the Heart Mirror. The Heart Mirror is, I guess it's almost like a standard rec for anything below $50, the HC Sound Heart Mirror, and for good reason. Very good detail retrieval for the price. Very clean, clear, precise sound, but it does have some negatives versus the SG01. Note weight is one of them. The Heart Mirror is decidedly thin at times on note weight, in particular for male voices. Bass reach and power is also much better on the SG01, but I say that the Heart Mirror's bass is faster, better texture, and better detailed, but not to say the SG01 is lacking in that department, just that the Heart Mirror does best it in those metrics. Coming up to the mid-range, I would say that the Heart Mirror is more recessed in the mid-range, which at times will make it sound more distant and cold as compared to the SG01, which has a thicker note weight and a more rich mid-range presentation. Both of them are very well defined, textured, great detail retrieval on both of these. I can't really fault either or. Air, nuances, timbre. I would probably go a little bit more towards the heart mirror, winning on that regard. Things just have a slightly more organic feel to them. But what detracts from that is the note weight, which unfortunately is a little bit on the light side. When it comes to the treble, here's where things get really interesting. The heart mirror also enjoys a very extended, detailed treble with great definition and detail retrieval and sparkle. But I honestly believe that the SG01 takes the edge a little bit here. It's a more organic sounding treble. One thing with the heart mirror is that the trailing edge of transients can sound a little bit overdone. Either they're too sharp or linger slightly too long. So the SG01 in the treble, I think, is more organic sounding, and I would have to give that the edge in that regard. In terms of technicalities, they're both very good. Both are very balanced. The heart mirror is brighter, most probably due to its less prominent bass and technical, while the SG01 is more balanced and organic. Both of these are keepers. I will not be getting rid of either or. Versus the ZEX, which is KZ's latest budget offering. I have it right here. It's not even a contest. From top to bottom in technicalities, presentation, organic sound, the SG01 walks all over the ZEX. Unfortunately for the ZEX, it's a great buy. Mind you, it's about $10 to $15 less expensive than the SG01, but in terms of sound quality, it might as well be miles behind. This is not to say the ZEX is bad. The ZEX is actually quite surprisingly good in the narrow price range that it exists, around the $20 to $22 mark. But my recommendation for everybody is, as good as this is, if this is what you want, go grab it. The ZEX is a definite performer. But once you listen to the SG01, a lot of earphones around the $40 to even up to $100 range will seem less attractive after that. Let's bring in another competitor here, which is more expensive. This is the Hittez MS2. I've spoken about this before in different comparisons. The Hittez MS2 reminds me, or to me, I consider it a more mature and a more, I don't know even how to say it, not just mature, but an upgraded heart mirror. It has better detail retrieval, a much better bass, yet retains the speed. Maybe this might even be slightly faster in the bass than the heart mirror. Great mids. The only failing I think it has, and it's a personal thing, is that the gain in the upper mids might be just a couple decibels too high at times. Yet it never sounds harsh, very clean. Versus the SG01. The SG01 is much closer in terms of overall performance, even though the tuning is somewhat different. Irrespective of the price difference, we're talking about $80 versus $40 here. This just goes to show you how good the SG01 really is. The Stargate 01 is a phenomenal earphone. In terms of detail retrieval, I would give it to the Hittez MS2. I'm a detail retrieval freak, but at the same time, I don't want things to sound, to lose their organic nature and sound too cold. The MS2 does in that regard. In the treble, very close in terms of quality between the two, with the Hittez being slightly better with detail retrieval, but both of them producing lots of nuances and air and sparkle. It's just fantastic. Through the mids, I would say the SG01 might be a little bit better with respect to note weight, but overall detail retrieval, I'd give it to the MS2. Still much closer than they should be, given the twice as much price, the difference in price. It actually absolutely incredible right here. So in conclusion, if it wasn't apparent already, the Reecho SG01 Stargate 01 offers solid performance and is very musical earphone. Its ability to capture the listeners and engage them is very rare in this price range and even far above it. While bass is just a little above average, the mids and the treble in particular are standouts, but it's the balance, the cohesion among from top to bottom of the frequency spectrum that brings everything together, giving the listener a taste of an organic sound that usually is nowhere to be found anywhere close to this price range. the combination of a great package, excellent build quality, and most of all, impressive sound garners a definite, strong recommendation for the Stargate 01. It's been out for a little while now and still hasn't caught on as well, which might be a better thing if you ask me. It's not a hype train earphone. It's one that really performs. Highly recommended. If you're the lover of the HD Sound Heart Mirror, the SG01 will complement it. They will complement each other. The tuning on the SG01 is really different from a lot of different IEMs. That's what caught me the first time I listened to it. I thought it sounded odd, but the more I listened to it, the more I realized it was the other earphones I was listening to that just weren't up to scratch. So that's my review of the Reecho SG01. A definite earphone for people to keep track of. Highly recommended. Please like and subscribe. I also have a Instagram account, and I have a blog where this is reviewed. I'm also very active in the Chi-Fi audio groups, audio reviews group on Facebook. Check that out. Great group. Audioreviews.org as well, and other groups. So we'll see each other soon, and I hope you liked the video. Again, subscribe. If you like it, tell others about it. Let's grow this community. Have a great day from Silicon Sounds.